So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is understanding the binary. Okay. And the main reason that is motivating me to educate this on for you guys is so that you can understand it and transfer the skills. Uh, Um, we have trained on how to build it, but I think if you understand the why, it'll make more sense. How many of you would, do that? The 2020 theory, first of all, I love the analogy because 2020 is clear vision. Did you catch that? That Gina and Steve, when they say that, they didn't use that terminology just by chance. So it's 20, building your binary, 20 left, 20 right. Okay. So you can build 20 on your left and 20 on your right. Okay. The couple things I want you to think about is, are you very clear which side you are on of your support team? Are you very clear? Okay. So if you do not know, okay, ping your support team and ask them. Okay. So in the binary, so I'm going to talk about a few basics first. So in the binary, you have something that's called your power leg. So write these terminologies down. You have something that's called your power leg, and your power leg is built by you and your support team and their team that's on that side. So as an example, let's say your power leg is on your left. Okay. So if you're sponsored here, and there's 4 or 5 people between you and your sponsor that came in before you, anybody that they sponsor on their left cascades down into your left. Okay. So that is called your power leg. So it's called a team leg, power leg, however you want to acknowledge it. The other leg is called your profit leg. The binary payout, the way it works, it's a 660-330 ratio. Okay. So for every 660 on your power leg and every 330 you have on your pay leg, you get a $50 cycle. Because are you guys like me? Like I learn visually and hearing. Do you guys do that too? Okay. So so here. Okay. So under commissions, click on volumes. And then you scroll over and you can see the volumes. Okay. So Kelly, thank you always for letting me use your back office. So clearly Kelly's power leg is her left. So you can see. You guys see that? So for you, at the minimum, you need 2 active on your power leg and 2 active on your pay leg. Okay, so when you think about the 660-330 ratio, so Kelly, thank you always for letting me use yours as an example. So in Kelly's scenario here, she's got 203 BV in her pay leg. I'm sorry, in her power leg, excuse me. And she's got plenty of active on both. The main thing here, so she in reality doesn't need to worry about the 660. It's there. Her to pay attention is on her right. So every 330 in business volume she gets on her right, it's a $50 cycle. Okay. So that is what hits you at manager. So the key is to the first step when in ranking up is 2 on your power leg, 2 on your profit leg, and that hits you at manager. Okay. So not only be thinking about what I'm telling you, but be thinking as you're working with your team. Okay. The next step is to build a manager on your left and a manager on your right, or a manager on your right, a manager on your left. Does not matter what order you do it in. Okay. So let's say your power leg's on your left. You've got 2 on your left and 25 on your right. Let's just say that's the scenario. Okay. And have no doubt you've got somebody on your right that wants to be a manager. But what if you don't have anybody on your left that wants to be a manager? Then it's time to start adding to your left again. Does that make enormous amount of sense? Okay. So you've got the 20-20. Got 20 on your left, 20 on your right. So let's say you're sponsored here. Okay. And these people are building, and anybody they builds cascades down here. And the right is your power leg. You're adding all these, or anybody that you sponsor that adds to this. My point here is the 20-20 isn't personally sponsored. How many brand partners do you have on the left, and how many brand partners do you have on your right? Okay. Don't get confused to think that you should go one. You're walking away from money doing that. So it's not just 20-20 in people. That's a kind of the first awareness to pay attention, but it's also in volume. Okay. So you want to pay attention. So for example, most of you have a power leg. So my main thing I want you to hear is when they say 20-20, know that doesn't mean personally sponsored necessarily. And it for sure does not mean one left, one right, one left, one. It does not mean that. Okay. When you are sponsored, now I'm going to talk about you and your team. Okay. When you sponsor somebody on your team and they start building and they're on your right, their first two people go on their right. How many of you have brought in somebody that has brought in a couple people, then they haven't added any more? Sure. All of us. Again, we don't know this to be true, but what I have seen is if they bring in a couple people, you hold their hand, you assist them to do it well and do it correct, duplicatable. By the time they bring in their third, that third person probably won't be orphaned because that person's in. Okay. So the first two is a little bit of a learning curve, but they have to have two on their power leg to get to manager and then two on their pay leg. So do you see it's the learning process. It's making sure you don't orphan anybody, and it's setting them up for their first rank. Okay. So the best way I do this, I'm going to use a term that I don't think you've ever heard me say. Leave nothing to chance. Wait, have you heard me say that? Okay. So when I sponsor somebody, immediately after sponsoring them, I log out, log back in, and move their binary. Because what if they get so excited and they jump in and sponsor somebody? Okay. So, and then I don't explain at the beginning, I don't explain the binary to them. That would overwhelm them. And sometimes I'll help them sponsor their first two, and I double check where their mental capacity is on this. And if I don't feel explaining the binary yet is ready, then I log in and move their binary to the pay leg. I don't even mention it yet. Most people do catch it, are ready, but some people are not. They are just shouting the word out to everybody, but they're not catching on. Okay, you're tracking me? So just be very aware of what's going on. I hope that you trust my heart. What I'm about to say, I'm not saying it to be critical. I'm saying it because we're human. And if you're missing things, so are your team. So I'm going to recap this again and look down at the notes you've taken. Okay. So you have a power leg and a profit leg. The one, usually the side that you're on, that you were sponsored on, is your power leg. If you don't know which one it is, double check with your support team. Okay. With the first rank, you need 2 on your power leg and 2 on your profit. Okay. And so when you sponsor somebody, if you brought them in on your left, their first 2 go on their left. If you brought them in on your right, their first 2 go on their right. Okay. So what I do as when I sign up a new brand partner, again, I always sign them up, never send a link. Okay. And that leave nothing to chance. So I sign them in. And also I'm going to add one more little thing I have not said. I suspect that you all choose a pattern for how you sign up your people, their username and password pattern for your team. So you can always log back in unless they happen to change their password. Okay. So the other thing, I want to share here is, so when you, when you sign up so then after you sign them up, log back in as them and move their binary. And the way you do that, I would presume that most everybody on here already knows this, but you go to your profile, you go to change settings, and you scroll down here. And Kelly, I'm going to move yours to your right because it should be on your right. So just so you know. Okay. So that's how you change it. You just click it. You don't need to click another button or anything. Okay. That's how you change their binary. So if they're on your right, move their binary to their right. If they're on their left, move their binary to the left. After they add their first two, you assess whether overwhelming this would be too much for them. And then you log back in and move their binary. But they may be ready to do that. But my suspicion is you want them making their list, calling their list, doing a couple calls with you, all that. You do not need to teach them the binary. Okay. So if they're on now the next step is, after you hit manager, reach manager, the next is for you to build a manager on your left and your one on each side. It does not matter which side comes first. So let's say in this scenario that you have two active on your left because that's your power leg, and you have lots cascading down here because it's your team's power leg. Okay. And you have, and let's say you put 15 on your right, and you have a couple people on your right who want to build a manager. Okay. Who are building or who have built to manager. But those two you put on your left didn't want to build. Now, strategically, it's now time to put your next several people on your left until you find someone who wants to build to manager. How many of you just had a big aha? Okay. Now, the next step of after you are manager, then you build one manager on your left and one on your right. Okay. Now you're a director. And then the next is to build two directors. Does not matter what side they're on. How many of you just got some big ahas? The binary, so the power leg is a gift. It's like building it for you. So now let's go back to the 2020. So do you see, like the idea of the 2020 with clear vision is obvious, but you want to strategically do it. Okay. Because if you can assist people to make income coming out of the gate fast in their binary, that means a lot to them. There is a $25,000 max on your binary. The goal is to max it out.